Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome to the bonus show. There is a fascinating development here coming to us from scientists at the University of Rochester. They have created a metal that is just extremely, extremely hydrophobic. And if you look at the video of it, water will actually bounce off of it. It is that hydrophobic. And the incredible thing about this, what separates this from all the other hydrophobic surfaces, I guess you could say, is that most of those use some type of chemical coating. But this just uses a laser etching that I guess they etch this nanostructure into the metal that makes it repel liquids. And so we can get into the applications here. This is a really big deal, or a big fucking deal if you quote Joe Biden. Construction of airplane surfaces. It could prevent water from freezing. Non-stick pans, phones, cars, pretty much anything that you could apply metal to, this you could apply this to. And a big one would be water recollection systems in underdeveloped countries where they might need that. This would be obviously an incredibly efficient way to collect water. Did you watch the videos?
I did, and I've seen some other videos also of like a hydrophobic sand-like thing where you just start pouring it into a glass of sand, and it just, instead of what normally happens with sand, which is it kind of floats around, the grains of hydrophobic sand stick together and create basically they just form right at the bottom in a unit. It's hard to even describe, like a little block of them, because they are so hydrophobic they repel the water. There are some really interesting applications of this type of technology.
Yep, and it will, since it's intrinsically part of the metal, it won't really fade away or erode, I imagine, at least not for a very long time, like those chemical coverings or other material surfaces would do. So this is very efficient and very practical. Not sure about the cost, but yeah, it's pretty amazing. Someone in the comments here said that it would make an amazing urinal, and I guess that is true. A urinal that perhaps you might not need to clean that often. I don't know. Maybe we'll see toilets with this type of technology. Let's talk about BlackBerry. BlackBerry somehow is still in business. How do you know anybody who uses a BlackBerry? I know we've talked about this before.
Very rarely I'll see someone with a BlackBerry, and usually it's in addition to some other phone. It's like maybe they say their work gave them that one or something like that, but very few people do I see using BlackBerry phones.
Would you agree with me in saying that the BlackBerry is headed towards becoming obsolete?
Well, the traditional BlackBerry phone that people remember with the little keyboard, yes, but I think that BlackBerry could potentially redesign some kind of smartphone to compete with the iPhone and the Samsung Galaxy phones and maybe become relevant again.
Well, I think they could very well do that, but I think they ultimately will need to use Android. I mean, I guess they could come up with their own system, but I don't think they're doing themselves any favors right now, and I don't. Things are not going very well, and this article makes that very clear, because the BlackBerry CEO John Chen wrote a letter to Congress calling for app developers to be forced to make apps for their new operating system.
When you have to force people into developing for your platform, you're in trouble, because what we've seen with the Android platform is that at first some of the developers of iPhone, iOS apps started making an Android version. And now we have nearing the ubiquity of Android apps because the phones were there, the platform was there.
There are some very funny quotes in this, he's citing discrimination, saying that, here's one example, Netflix, and this is all within the context of net neutrality. He's citing net neutrality as something that means that developers need to develop for all platforms, and somehow that is tied into net neutrality, and that BlackBerry is being discriminated against. Netflix, this is a quote from his letter, I guess. Netflix, which has forcefully advocated for carrier neutrality, has discriminated against BlackBerry customers by refusing to make its streaming movie service available to them. Many other applications providers similarly offer service only to iPhone and Android users. So when he says that he's being discriminated against because Netflix will not operate on their platform, what do you say to that?
I think that this is absolutely ridiculous. I think that the way to revive the brand is not going to be by forcing developers into putting all sorts of labor hours into developing for a platform that they don't think anyone's going to use, and maybe even that their app is not going to function as well on. The way to do this would be to make developers want to develop for your platform. I just think this is so completely backwards, and I think that the comparison to net neutrality is not a good one.
No, but this was the overall tone of the letter, and I think it's pretty sad. I think they need to go in a completely different direction, and I think that they should be using Android instead of their own operating systems at this point. I think they've fallen too far behind. I don't see how they could really revolutionize anything here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this guy's a genius and I don't realize it, and he'll save the company somehow. But sales have been going down for BlackBerry. Let's talk about Greenpeace. We talked about the climate summit or climate conference in Peru that happened late last year. And there was something that happened there that caused quite a stir that we did not discuss. And that was something that Greenpeace did. Now, what they did was, I'm no fan of Greenpeace. Let me add that. I think I find them kind of obnoxious. But they went to the Nazca lines, these ancient images drawn up by natives, long time ago, 1,500 years old. And they're visible from the air. You see the whole picture. The one they desecrated was called the hummingbird. And what they did was they walked into this area that is strictly off limits, disrupted it, and then put a big banner down and a sign or whatever, and used the drone to go up and take a picture of it and then post it all over the internet. And of course, their name, Greenpeace, was right on in the picture. And obviously, Peru, they were very angry. Now, normally, I guess Greenpeace will stick around after they pull a stunt like this, and they will take responsibility immediately, and they will, those who did it will say, yeah, it was me, I did it, so on and so forth. But this was a little bit different. I guess this was a lot more illegal than the stuff they normally do. They took off, and there has been a battle going on ever since. And now, as a result of this, Greenpeace has essentially handed over the names of those who organized this to the Peruvian government. And I have to say, I think it's the right move. This was incredibly stupid, was it not?
Yes, it was. And sometimes there are groups with whom I agree on 90% of the message and 10% of the tactics, so to speak. And sometimes Greenpeace falls under that umbrella, sadly. And there are actually many other groups that I think are similar. PETA is another group where I agree with some of PETA's message. I don't agree with all of it, but I certainly think that some of their tactics are not the right tactics. And you could say, well, if they get attention, then they're the right tactics, and any attention is good. I don't know that when you want people on your side, any attention is good attention. I don't know that the any publicity is good publicity thing applies to instances where you might actually push people away from your being sympathetic to your view because of the tactics you use.
I guess Greenpeace named Wolfgang Sadik as the mastermind behind this, and I guess he operates out of Germany. And they named a couple other people. Of course, there were many, many, many people who were involved with this, who were there. So I'm not sure if all of them are going to be held accountable. But what do you think happens from this point? Do you think that they will try to have him extradited? I mean, what goes on now?
I don't know how far they're going to try to push this. I think certainly if they can do that easily, why wouldn't they? But these things can get diplomatically complex sometimes when you get embassies and consulates involved. I honestly have no idea what's ultimately going to happen.
This site is off limits even to presidents and high officials in the country, which I guess on occasion they have bent the rules when it comes to that. But yeah, they take it pretty seriously. Pretty stupid move by Greenpeace. You're not doing yourself or any favors when you bring shame to your organization like this.
I agree.
Yeah. Anything to add today?
Nope, nothing else. We got a lot of feedback from the town hall. People seem to like it. As always, there are some technical issues. Somebody suggested we could try Google Hangouts. There was a reason we were originally going to use Google Hangouts, but there was something that happened which made it not work for some reason. And I don't remember. Oh, you know what it was? We need to be able to kind of have this system where we have Dennis moderating and in a kind of producer role. And there was something about that which didn't work well with the Google Hangouts. And I don't remember now exactly what it was, but maybe we should revisit because maybe Google Hangouts have some of those features now.
Yeah, we could look into that. I think, I think it went really well. I enjoyed it, and I'll be looking forward to the next one.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.